How do you have the perfect cold call prospecting discussion? So just imagine this for a moment. You've dialed a customer, they've sensed your confidence and your ease in your manner over the phone, so they respond equally. They're comfortable with your introduction and they're happy to follow on the discussion momentarily. You've quickly identified the fact that they are either a tenant or an owner-occupier, and you know exactly what questions are going to roll out to keep them engaged in that conversation. And because you have this element of confidence and ease about your tone and the way you're speaking with this person, they're happy to sit there and follow through with the discussion. Now, this is the ultimate cold call discussion, but very few people manage to get there. And particularly for beginners, it can be a real challenge knowing how to have these discussions and to stay front and center so that your brain kicks in really quickly, knowing what to say next. Anyway, I have developed this fabulous tool, which is going to take all those fumbles and flummoxes and all the uncertainties out of these cold calls. And it's actually called the conversation flow, a conversation flow tool. And this is actually a template I've designed, and it's quite easy to follow. Now, just to give you a bit of an idea, I completed an example here. We've needed to use this conversation flow tool many times in my call center over the years. And I've taken 5 different scenarios of the sort of people that you might end up speaking with. So it might be a tenant that potentially could be a first home buyer, a tenant that could potentially be an investor but stay put where they are, an owner-occupier, an investor from interstate, or even another area that agents have shared with me they get stuck on is, what do I say when I follow up somebody who's been to an open home? So all of these scenarios that I've listed in these top boxes here. Now, under each one of them, I have listed just a couple of prompter words that prompt you to consider the question that you need to ask. Now, as you can see by the different layout of all of these, there are varying questions depending on the type of person that you're speaking to. So you can either use the example that I've already set up, or I'm including a printable PDF download of one that you can actually complete yourself. Now, I'm also including an Excel one. If you're a bit OCD like me, you might want to type in your questions. And you may end up throwing this out a few times as you become more accustomed to the questions that you're finding sit more comfortably with those customers. Now, if we go back to the template, you might think, well, you know, when I look at the whole thing, that's a bucket load of questions. I agree with you. However, I have often on cold calls gotten up to 20 questions, and it's all in the way you word them and the tone that you apply to them. So this is also going to come with the conversation flow tool, and it's a booklet explanation in case all of that went over your head, and it's going to tell you how to complete your version of the conversation flow tool if you don't wish to use mine. But it also lists the long version, the full version of all these questions. So this is the one for owner-occupier, and I've listed all the full version of it, and I've worded them all softly so that you can feel confident that when you ask them in this fashion, they're going not to be too confronting. I've completed questions for all the scenarios, a tenant investor, tenant first home buyer, etc., all the way through this booklet. Now, you can have all of this for less than 5 cups of coffee. And it's going to put a serious end to all those fumblings on your calls when you're trying to get some flow and some traction in your discussions. And when you've completed your template, or if you're just going to use mine that I've already pre-populated, just laminate it and stick it on the wall in front of your desk so that when you identify it's a tenant or when you identify it's a owner-occupier, you know to go specifically to that column of questions and you'll know how to roll out that discussion. You'll get those home appraisal appointments faster than you have ever before. All right, pop over to my website, propertyprospecting.com.au. There's more about it there, or if I've provided you with another link, you can use that. And also, for a short time only, we are going to include a bonus, which I'll tell you more about in the next video.